Hello, everyone. Welcome to My Spiritual Money RX. This is your host, Vivian S. de Guzman. And I can see the title there, but then my size kind of like fits in the screen a certain way, right? So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the show. And this is where we actually talk about that word that for a lot of people, money is not quite pleasant. However, when we start discussing and clarifying some terminologies and really looking at how do other people look at that word money, and then how can we make it spiritual and aligned to actually fit your life. So today, we're going to be talking about harnessing your power within, right? So when you even think about that word, for some people, one time I was teaching a class and I just was talking about money like it was just like a rubber band or it's just like a piece of paper. And I can see the energy of this one person start shrinking. And I'm thinking, is there something going on like within her? However, I realized that for her, it meant something other than what I was talking about. So we just had two different definitions. And when I stopped myself, observed, and started clarifying through communication what it meant for her, then it became a lot more obvious that she needed to release some of the thoughts and patterns and mindset. So a mindset shift had to happen and an energy shift has to happen so that she can be comfortable even with that word because it's something we use every day. So this is your host, Vivian S. de Guzman, and today I'm going to be bringing in two of my special people in our academy and in our Transformational Wellness International, Vienna Dunham. She is our emotion code practitioner, and Chris Ternate, our geek web funnel person. So welcome to the show. How are you ladies?
Doing well,
Really
Vivian.
good.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, let me see if I can get this thing working properly. There you go. That's much better for now. Okay, so we're going to be defining the different. First, let's clarify the definition. I think if people understand power, because even if I ask these two ladies, right? Let's just ask them just for the sake of a conversation. So, Vienna, when you hear that word and harness your power within, right? Power. What does that mean to you without correcting anything? The first thing that comes up for you emotionally, maybe mentally, what is it?
I think of a powerful car engine. So
Okay.
it's like you can hear it, you can feel the vibration, something's about to happen. So unless of course it won't go into gear or the brakes are on. But power I associate with that engine, that movement potential.
Movement potential. Okay. How about you, Chris?
So I'm more on the tech part. First thing that came in mind was that battery icon on my computer.
Oh, what?
Energy.
Say that again. Say that again for the audience.
The battery icon, so it says 100% and then all the way down to
Oh,
1%.
yeah.
Right? So a computer is a powerful tool. It could do anything for you, right? But it
True.
couldn't
That's
clean
true.
your
If
house.
you know
But
how to use it,
it
right?
could generate, yeah, it had lots of potential. But if your energy is low, computer is
Right.
gonna die.
Wow. Yeah. Even for me, like years ago, when I look at that word power, it scared me. Like
Mm.
that's power for me is almost like somebody controlling me, overpowering me. That was my negative connotation of power in the past. And then I realized because you know how sometimes you play a victim role because you don't want to be that person, right? Think about this. If you have a negative connotation or definition or meaning or interpretation of power, you never want to be powerful because you
Mm.
don't want to be the bad guy, isn't it?
Yep.
That's obvious, right? Okay, so I went to Google and Wikipedia, and I found this definition. Power is the possession of control, authority, or influence over others. That's the definition in the dictionary. So even the word control, well, what is control to you, Vienna? So let's start with that. Control.
That's probably something I still have some negative connotation to, like you spoke of about
Oh,
power. Control to me sounds like limiting. So
limiting.
I
Okay.
can see that there could be an aspect of guiding, but
Right.
a lot of my experience with it has been there's a
Oh, like
lid on it,
somebody controlling you somehow. Okay.
right?
Okay. Limiting. Okay. And then how about you, Chris? What's control to you? What does that mean?
Control for me is everybody has their own thing. So unintentionally tend to control others, right? So understanding
Mm,
control for me is to understand what can I control within my world? How can I create my world without controlling other people? Because control is effort. And when you put so much effort in something, your battery is going to get drained, especially if you're not aligned, right?
nice. Right. So you see how their definitions are kind of connecting to the first one that we had, right? Okay. So control, and this is interesting because the more you read or have experiences in life, I've actually learned that control means three things: start, change, and stop.
Mm.
Have you heard that definition?
Mm-mm. I
I
like
mean,
it.
think about it, right? So start, change, and stop. So if let's say, if you think about, do you have control over your schedule for the day? Just what is the first answer? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you started your day, you can change it at any time, and you can stop it when you feel like it, right? Nobody can tell you to go to bed at 8 unless there's a limiting belief or thought that I'm supposed to go to bed by 8. But I'm a generator. I know that I have a lot of energy. So I've also learned that my battery needs to be down, like out, like relaxed, like nothing anymore to do. That's the time I go to bed because I'm done. Like my battery is worn out for the day. That's when I actually go to bed, or I try to go like an hour before. I can kind of feel it when the energy is going down. So I decide when to stop the day, not based on because the doctor says you're supposed to sleep at 8. So again, if you allow the doctor to have authority over your sleeping time, now you're like you have to sleep because the doctor says so, or who has control over your life? You start it, change it, or stop it when you decide that.
Yeah.
Is this making sense? All right. So this is a definition in Wikipedia. Okay. Now, power, according to angel card, right? Like the oracle card that I pull out by Doreen Virtue every month, that you guys have an email of that. If you subscribe to our like our website or our newsletters, it says power, all the power of divine love, wisdom, and intelligence is available to you. You have the spiritual power to see angels and the future. You have intellectual power to tap into the universal, up, it didn't go all the way, to the universal energy around you. Okay, how does that feel to you, or how does it sound to you when you hear that that's power?
Super expansive, like,
No.
woo, it just all opened up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Now,
And it feels super safe because I trust
yeah.
God, you know, so it's like, oh, divine love. Ooh, there's a love element to power. Oh, nice.
Yes. Now, it doesn't look like when you have it, it's that scary anymore, because you're like, oh, I have love, I have wisdom, I have intelligence. I can really feel the power of the spiritual angels, and I can be connected to the universe. That sounds good. So, here in this definition, our mind has this good and bad, categories, right? This is good for me, this is bad for me. Welcome to planet Earth. It only exists in this planet, just to let you know. Okay. How about you, Chris? How did this make you feel? What did you think about it when you saw that definition?
It reminded me of a time where I only trusted myself and my capabilities and my knowledge and experience. And
Mhm.
at the same time, transitioning and letting go of outcomes and just tapping into the divine intelligence. And that's when life changed for me. I'm happier now. I'm more chill. I don't work 100 hours per week.
Because you're a projector, you can't be working 100 hours a week. It
Yes.
doesn't work for you. You're going to run out of battery, just to let you know.
Yep.
I'm a generator, so for those generators, manifesting generators, you have a lot of power, right? But you choose where you direct that power or channel it accordingly, because everybody wants some of it. But if you give it to everybody, what's left of you? Make sure you have your own battery storage, right?
Yeah.
Now, one more definition, and this is work related, right? Power is defined as a state where there is so much production that temporary stops or dips cannot pull it down or threaten it. That's work-related power. How does that feel to you, Vienna?
Very mechanical.
Mhm.
It doesn't sound like flow. Now, I understand that in a big company where you've got deadlines and you've got customers waiting for things that is a kind of flow, but it
Mhm.
sounds heavy to me. Wouldn't like to work in that environment
Okay.
myself.
Yes.
So
Unless,
much production. I'm a
right. Yeah.
yeah.
Unless, but okay, let's actually define production, right?
Ooh, thank you.
Oh, there
Production.
you go.
So sometimes that we have this, we just have, we don't know all of the definitions. That's why we associate. Do you notice what our brain does, or our mind does? It
Yep.
is, for Vienna, production is like, oh my God, I'm never going to do that. But she's funny because she's what, society or network? Are you like, what's your
Society
society? Like she was meant
and a
to really
projector.
serve a lot.
Efficiently somehow. I haven't
Efficiently.
figured that all out yet, but yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's unfolding, right?
It
Now,
is totally.
let's look at production. Production means the action of completing something.
Okay. That
It's
sounds like good news.
It's finishing a job, a project, or object that is useful or valuable or simply worth doing or having. That's production.
Great reframe. I can embrace that.
There you go. So you, like, do you now see sometimes wherein, because of our understanding of the definition, they're like, I don't want any of that. And then I'm like, but we are stopping yourself from going there to your highest potential, highest power. So the
Mhm.
question is, does a person have issue with their own power? Maybe the definition in their mind is not quite congruent with how they really want to serve, right? The world and other people around them. So Chris, how did these two definitions, power, right? This, Like there's so much production, temporary stops or dips cannot pull it down or threaten it. And then the production itself. How does that, how do you read that one? How do you interpret it?
So just thinking about it, like production takes time and energy, and
Yeah.
then it stops. So the power behind it is knowing when to produce, or the right time to
Yes.
produce at a specific moment, and then stop and look at it and be silent and, recharge.
That's the
And
flow that
then
I was talking
the
about,
loop
right?
of
It's like
power
a
again,
rhythm.
yes.
Yep.
And
Yes.
And I was sharing with Vienna last night. We were having a conversation, and it's about, I said, Vienna, I'm actually going to take off next week. You know how there's Memorial Day? That whole week for me is going to be rest. So, like, we ramp up production. We had an event, right? We're inviting people to come with us in their journey, in our journey together in the next 90 days. And then I'm going to relax because I'm about to serve. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Mhm.
So I ramp it up and then I have to go down and relax and really be the vessel, right? Really be allowing this container so that people can come in accordingly so that we can help them see that within them, that power and potential within them so they can actually produce. Because we're not robots. We're not like, rah, 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 we got an event, we got to push, push, push. We do not push. We invite and allow the universe to deliver, but you have to be okay stepping into it. Okay? Because
Mhm.
if the relationship is codependent, it's almost like I'm only happy when you're successful. I'm only happy when you're happy. That doesn't work very good.
Mm-mm.
In business, what's going to happen is more drama is going to be produced from that, just like your household. If you have that kind of household, it's like, I'm not happy if my kids are not happy. Delete.
Now, how's that working out for you as the kids get older? Oh,
Yeah, you're like, oh my God, I have more problems. Yes, because it's either we teach them how to solve it themselves with what we know, right? Because we are just also experiencing life as it is. So, would you guys like to know the power formula?
yes, please.
ooh.
I've got my pen.
Number one, when you get to power, this is the first formula, is you cannot disconnect. You know how, think about you starting a business, and at first, you know how you just want to be known and you're communicating with everyone and you're offering like this free gift, or perhaps you're offering a low price ticket item because they don't know who you are. So you're just exchanging information, you're sharing your skills and knowledge and capability, and they're paying you, right? For the services, for whatever that is. And then you notice, so even for me, I noticed like, well, I just kind of shock the system, release and penetrate exactly what's the problem, what's the root cause, and get to it. And then they're like, oh my God, I'm not on the first floor, I'm on the seventh floor. What do I do here? Because I forgot, like I bypassed the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth floor. I'm now on the seventh floor and I go, oh, my friends, my family, I can't relate to them, right? Because you're in a different state. You're in a completely different state. So what happens now, because you used to offer, let's say, $150 class, and then suddenly you're now offering a $3,000 class. So I've noticed this. There are a few people that will come with you knowing that, ooh, I've actually just saved time because I've released all that crap and I can be at a more efficient me, right? And I can be a better version of me here on the seventh floor. What do I do? There will be a gap, right? There will be a lull because they can't just go from, think about this. Well, sometimes you can. A person can be in a victim mode and suddenly in power mode because finally they take over themselves and they take over their life. They don't depend on other people saying, oh, it's just because you had some money, now you don't know me anymore. But do you see the first formula is don't disconnect. You still need to talk to those people that used to pay you $150 and really understand where they are they ready? Because when they say no, they're not personally attacking you because they said no. They're not ready to move up to that 7th floor yet, and it's okay. Is this making sense?
Mm-hmm.
When you disconnect, so can you tell me different scenarios where you've seen people disconnect? So let's say you live in Kansas and you say, I'm going to move to California. Would you ever call the people in Kansas? Or are you going to be like, forget about those people. I don't know them anymore. Even if you grew up with them, right?
Right. Right.
Right.
That
So
would,
that's the power formula. Because if you disconnected Vienna, what happens when you go back to Kansas?
they've all potentially moved on, or even if they're all still sitting where they were
Mhm.
and have time, they're like,
Yep, I
you
don't want to talk to that Vienna.
you weren't available. Yep.
Right. The communication is what seals the deal, so to speak, right? Even if, like you said, they're of a different mindset than you are now, they're still human beings. So you're still going to connect with them. You're still going to talk to them, right?
Yep.
How about you, Chris? Has this happened? Like, have you done these things at all?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that's the first formula. Like, you know how some people get promoted from a regular employee, then suddenly they're a manager, and then they sometimes act differently? That's really that's common life experiences that we have, right? Number 2 is you do have to write up your own job or position. So when you left that job, whatever that is on the 1st floor, you're gonna have to you're gonna be succeeded by somebody, right? Well, how do they know if you never told them what you're doing? So do you see what happens in an office when they fire someone or they hire another person, and this new hire is like a deer in the headlights because they don't, like, what was she doing? And people are so used to your style that when a new person comes in, they become the enemy because suddenly they're doing it differently. Do you see this pattern?
Mhm.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So tell me a little bit of how do you interpret this? Like, have you done this? Have you observed this at all with other people? So remember Vienna, you used to be a massage therapist and then you left that, right?
Right.
So did you write a job description, or the supervisors, do they know exactly? Or is it an implied thing that massage therapists know what they're doing?
This was what I left was corporate, and it was very outlined. They,
Ah,
yeah, they told the next person, yeah, and the rules kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You know, part of what made it
yeah,
less attractive to be there.
right. Oh, Lordy.
So now I also wondered with this, write up your own job or position. I was when I first saw that, I was putting it toward you need to write up the new thing on the 7th floor. I
Yep.
wasn't so much thinking about where you left. Is there an element of that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you won't really know, like, so if the person that you succeeded, right? Let's say there was a CEO there or a president, and then you need to know how they did things before.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you're going to be the enemy of everybody, and everybody wants you down. That's why a lot of people don't like to be empowered or be in a position of power because they don't want to be shut down. Think about
Hmm.
the president. You see how many comments, good and bad,
Woo,
we have of
woo.
people in power. Just think about that, right? How do you feel about that? What if that's you on top?
I determined a long time ago I would never do politics. I was like,
Ah,
somebody in my family started talking about it, and I'm going, "Wow, you got more
uh-huh.
inner something inner fortitude or
Yeah.
uh,
Well, because
risk taking capacity than I do."
yeah, it's so true though, because you have your way of running the country. I'm sure the other person has another way, because how many presidents have we had? And we all have different opinions about
Mhm.
how they do it. It's
Yep.
kind of like, okay, that free speech, it's great. At the same time, have you ever run your household well? Have you ever been successful at running that well? How about your business? You see the difference?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
This reminds me of, starting as an entrepreneur. So
Yep.
I was graduating as a nurse, so job description was pretty good,
Mhm.
very clear. And then
Mhm.
entrepreneurship happened, and then job description is like CEO, chief everything officer.
Yep.
So it was like no clarity, putting out fires every time.
Oh my
Right? You got
God.
100 hats in your closet and you go, oh my
Yes.
gosh, I can't find my marketing hat. Who took my marketing hat?
And just writing it down got, very clear. And
Uh-huh.
then now I'm transitioning into like, okay, this is my description. This is what I'm going to do throughout my day. This is my activities. This is how I'm going to love myself and take care of myself. There's my
Yep.
description. That's the number one. And life was better. It was a lot clearer.
Right, right. And
Beautiful.
because after our conversation with Chris and she knows her human design and what's her purpose, finally she's living the purpose. And by the way, how does it feel to live your purpose with ease, grace, and flow versus I have to do this? You see that I have to do this is kind of forceful, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of power versus force.
Yes,
Yes.
The
yes,
energy is completely different. I'm pushing a locomotive uphill. How fun is that?
right.
Footing and it runs over. Yeah, it just forces a tough boat. You talk about getting tired, but when we can come to this point where we stand aligned in our power. I've been doing a little reading about alignment and power. And when
Mhm.
everything's stacked up neatly, you've got a lot more strength, right? Instead of I got my rocks all over the place
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
potential for failure, falling apart. So
And going
Okay.
back to what you said earlier,
Uh-huh.
when I knew my position and changed my role, the
Mhm.
production is more quality, not quantity.
Yes. And for those
Mhm.
of us, I have my design Jupiter as unit. Like I'm really meant to work with just small number of people, like 3 to 11 or 3 to 15. So knowing that in my human design, right? That's my reference point, knowing that I can have a small cluster of people I work with. So I apply that not only in my company, but also in my groups. Like
Mhm.
I'm not going to try to recruit a bunch of people and hopefully the production is okay. It doesn't work like that, right? So if one of the values for me is integrity, and then I violate my own integrity, knowing that I already know my design, like I know how much I'm able to handle. And then suddenly, because of money, so you see how some people use money, unfortunately, as a negative thing. But if you know your parameters, like, okay, these are the values I operate from, and I'm going to follow this because this is going to work not just for me, but also for the clients because they're going to be happy, they're going to be well served, they're going to change, right? Because I'm into transformation. So I
Mhm.
know that part about me. So why would I try to recruit so many people? That just means if there's another set of people that want to work with me after 15, I'm going to go open up another group. It could be the same title, but we're going to meet at different times of the day because it is no longer allowed there
Mhm.
for me to serve them well. Is this making sense?
I love
Yes.
that. I like that integrity that you
Yeah.
want.
So
You're
you
so
gotta,
determined to serve everyone well that you'll do
yes,
whatever it takes. If we got to make two groups, let's do it.
right. So your value, right? You got to know what it is. What's important to you? Because even if you don't actually know that part, unfortunately, if you don't know your values and you're borrowing your parents' values, or like, oh, your boss's value, sounds like she's a good person. Let me just borrow that. You could do that, but at the same time, you got to live it. You have to be in integrity with it because the relationship between your self worth, right? We talked about the self worth and net worth. If you don't value yourself, there is no self worth.
Yep.
So forget about your net worth. Forget about the money part
Mm.
because you can't even take care of the core. The core is you. It's not what parents said about you. It's not what your relatives said about you. It's not what other people said about you. You have to know who you are. That's your own power. If you can't stand there, well, you can't stand anywhere.
Mhm.
Because when you go up on stage, other people have different values and they're going to question you, kind of like you're the president. They're going to throw tomatoes and rocks at you. And if you don't know who you are, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be like, I'm not going to do this anymore because everybody's laughing at me. Okay. Then you really don't know who you are and what you represent. That's kind of hard, huh? It's kind of
really hard.
I'm just hitting you right where you need to hear it.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna stack onto that. If
Okay.
your self-worth is dependent on the person that you're trying to please, it's yeah.
Ooh,
This goes for parents,
moment.
clients, your boss. You know, if you constantly please them and go out your boundary of not being who you are, then yeah.
So I'm going to do
not
a
a good
graphic on that, right? So let's say my soul is inside of me right now. And then if my mom says, no, you got to go sideways, put your hand on the floor and lift your left leg up. Okay. So you do that, right? But then a few hours later, she's like, no, I said you got to go upside down, head down, feet up. Does this sound familiar?
And then in the back of your head, Mom, are you happy now? Are you happy now? Are you happy now?
Yeah. And it's like, no, that's not what I said. I told you to walk on your tiptoes. And by the way, clean your room too. Okay. Sounds familiar.
Right. And then trouble really comes if somebody else walks in the room and you think you have to please them too. And they're like, not your tiptoes. I said your heels. You know?
Oh, no. You're like, oh, no. Is there such a thing? Can I have like a bigger arch so I can do both?
Exactly.
You guys are laughing, but this is happening in normal daily living.
And it's exhausting and crazy making.
How does that feel to you? So if you are not whole because your soul decided to do all those acrobatic things that the mother and the other person told you, but how many people tell you to do something else aside from your values? This is happening since childhood, people. This is not even, it's almost like, well, that's why there's only 2% of the people that actually have a high income level, is because they decided to do things on their own and not worrying about what every person is saying. Think about
Fascinating.
it. Right?
Don't know that I'd made that correlation.
That's why they're the top 1 to 2%, and that's why the rest of the world is here.
What?
Because
They're not just lucky?
No. They did figure out the formula of power.
Okay.
That's why they became affluent.
I see the pieces coming together.
Yay. Okay. Hi to everyone tuning in. So if anybody has a question, you guys have a question, let's hear it. Because we want you to truly up level. By the way, we did our up level last Saturday. It was fascinating. And that's the question, right? Sometimes people are afraid. So Vienna, is there anything they need to be afraid of?
Only fear itself.
Yes. So
Fear's a bad master.
what
Don't
gets
go there.
in your way to receive abundance? Ask yourself.
Fear for sure.
Fear. Okay. Now, can you align your emotions to your, because you said you want to be a business owner, can you align to that?
That is phenomenally important, because if I'm in a space of either low self-worth because of I got, think whack-a-mole. Somebody whacked me on the head when I was little, and I'm like, okay, never mind.
Maybe I should.
Maybe I won't stick my head up so high anymore.
Right.
And you just end up with, I feel worthless. I feel abandoned. You can stack all these things up and they can get trapped in the body. So important to let them go so that you can align, because when there's all those rocks in the way.
Wait, so you
great
can say,
there.
okay, my turn, whack-a-mole back. You can't do that.
Yeah, and Vienna did a phenomenal job last Saturday. Everybody was full, received that healing. And the thing is, people think they have to do something in order to actually be abundant and powerful. You actually have to let go of things.
That's exactly right. So
I'm like, I say, oh, I can't fit that on my schedule. You cannot afford to not fit this on your schedule, because
exactly.
when you don't, unfortunately, your life just becomes a repeat, sometimes of your parents or your last year and the previous years. It doesn't quite get to where you want to go, that path and purpose, right? Eventually, you can bring your spiritual expansion, right, the container, to your physical reality. So you don't work hard for the money, it becomes your best friend. And then your right tribe, the people that are really wanting to have access to that genius zone of yours, they actually come. That's a totally different energy, right? Like, oh, you mean I set it up, I just sit here and wait and welcome them. Isn't that a different feeling than, oh my God, I have to chase my clients? No, you don't.
Oh my goodness, right?
You have to
And
set up the container and sit there and wait.
and the other thing that you've taught so poignantly, Vivian, is you can let go of the negative, and then there's the necessity of being ready, willing, and able to receive the positive. So receiving muscle is the one I've had to exercise to be ready to go and grow, right? Ready to receive those clients that want to come, want to experience my design, what's been given to me to share with the world.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
I know that we already released a lot of the bonuses last night. Yesterday was the last day because they had the pandemic detox and the group clearing bonus and your private session too, right? So while they're waiting, because we're going to start when? June 7 for you, right? For your stress and trauma release. Share a little bit about stress and trauma. So if you are denying your power, do you really still have stress and trauma, Vienna? I mean, is it really hidden? Like, how can you just identify people walking on the street and say, you got stress and trauma? Or not?
Well, let's just say there's nobody immune, but you can often tell by looking at a person whether or not they've learned to deal with it. There's kind of a, if they're wearing their shoulders as earrings, they're hanging on to it. But if they can, how's that body posture, and how are the wrinkles on the forehead? There are just certain ways that we demonstrate, I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Get out of my way.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, and yet, even when I had learned so many different tools for releasing stress, little meditation and notice in your body where the tension is and such, and yet still I had an undercurrent that it took a while to identify. And it took really going in, looking for it on purpose. And now it's like, have you ever sat on a chair that was a little unsteady? And it's like you don't quite sit down with all your weight because you don't know when it's going to give way. I think that's the kind of tension, even when I'm sitting there going, take a deep breath, and yet now that the trapped emotion and the heart wall has been released, now I can sit down with all my weight, and it makes all the difference because then I'm really resting.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes we think we're resting when we're not, right? Like, I didn't get enough sleep. You didn't rest. So between me and Vienna helping you out in the physical plane, emotional plane, psychic and spiritual plane, that's what the package is really about, right? And then 90 days into it, or even before that's up, you have a whole team of experts. My business manager, Chris, right? Even Chris can take a look at your site.
Yes.
What's up with that, right?
Can I say something about up level?
Yeah, of course, because you've
So
been at up level.
I'm an up level student, right? And now working with Vivian. So my life before was amazing, right? I had my own business, my own agency, multiple clients, almost, like that peak of my career where, speaking at every stage for the whole year, 200 events. So I felt like I had that power. But then at the end of the day, I couldn't sleep at night. Like my brain was still running. I was exhausted without even knowing it.
Right.
But when I started, having my heart and my mental stuff aligned and my goals aligned, things happened, shifted. So now I took a step back and said, okay, let me create my life, with the help of Vivian. What I learned from Up Level is actually having choices. Right now, I took out the power from the business to control me, the
Yep.
power from money to control me, the power from clients to please them, and took a step back and say, okay, let me have my choice this time.
Yep.
And totally changed me. Now I'm way more fulfilled and sleeping at night. So that's great.
Oh, thanks for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's
Yeah,
awesome, Chris.
and
Yeah.
even I asked, so how many clients do you have right now, Chris? And she's like, just you and another person. Okay. So, but
2.
she knew from being a projector, like basically when she was at different events, she was tapping into the motor of the generators and manifesting generators. But think about those people, if they don't know how to unplug by the end of the event, they're zapping her because she doesn't have the energy on her own. She doesn't have the motor to do it. Projectors are only about 2 to 4 hours. That's the best productive state. And then they're supposed to play, and really they're the wise sage of society. So you see how if she doesn't live her life based on her design, she becomes a robot or a puppet for others. And that's sad, right?
That is sad.
And you know what's funny though? I have 4 offers, 2 from big corporations, like ginormous corporations, telling me to work with them. And I go, oh, not at this moment. I'm good. A year ago, I would jump into that opportunity and say, you know what? I work for this really, really big company. But
Right.
right now,
And,
I could
and then
just
you're
step back and like,
exhausted by the end of the day.
yep,
Right.
very interesting life. I love my life right now. So
Yes.
that was
Beautiful.
my up level, that transition between who I thought I was to who
Yes.
I'm really and how I operate, and learning that
Aw,
I could not get from any program.
Nope.
I mean,
yeah.
I've gone from a lot of programs, but just that transition, it's very amazing.
Okay,
That
and we
is
have
so well
this.
said.
Thank you, Chris. That's amazing. Teddy has a comment. I absolutely love the topic as one's self-worth determines their net worth. Yet there are people who often feel so insecure about themselves that they devote their life building huge things, making billions of dollars. One doesn't need billions to be comfortable. Aw, thank you, Teddy.
Yeah.
And Rosemary also was a clap. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. And we hope that you've learned something to take your own power back, right? Because you are important. You deserve to live your life in peace, in satisfaction, um, in surprise if you're a reflector, right? Like be surprised, like, oh my God, the tree gave me a fruit today, or the sun shone today. That's perfect, right? Like little things like that, that I know for me, by the end of the day, if I'm not satisfied, I did not quite live my life because I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow. Yes, nobody
Sure.
knows. But if you live your design based on you, and by the way, in our up level success package, we're going to go through that with you so you know who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, you're going to copy and clone everybody else. You think, oh, sounds like my mom is nice and she's really good, so I'm going to be like her. But you don't have the same birthday, you weren't born at the same time, so you're not your mother, and you are not your sister, and not your father or brother or husband. You are not them. You are a unique individual when you can embrace that and see how the pieces of the puzzle fit. Because we're like in a big puzzle, right? We all can work together because there are things we complement each other with. That's the beauty of that. Like Vienna is not me and I'm not her,
Nope.
or Chris. is not Vienna, and Vienna is not Chris, right? So please know who you are, because when you do that, life will change tremendously. So we're going to get started on the first week of June. Her class is Vienna's Mondays, mine is Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're interested, please make sure you check out the package, and we will entertain any questions until the end of this week. Other than that, we hope you have a great week ahead of you. And next week is our Feng Shui. Like, how can we make your office, if it's in your house right now, support you and your business? So that is our next episode. So tune in next week.
By all means, make sure you catch that. I've already been applying some principles. I shifted my video corner today just to accommodate what I learned about Feng Shui for your office.
Awesome.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope that we have clarified that word power for you, that so you can harness that power within you, and that you can live your life with ease, grace, and flow. Have a fun time, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye for
Vivian.
now.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye.
And Vienna.